Hello and welcome back. So today, as you guys know, I got some markers. Uh, just a few days ago. I think it was like a week, and I've been playing with them, and I wanted to share with you guys what I've learned so far. Which, granted, is not a lot, but I thought, hey, if you're starting off in markers or you might want to try them, why not? So, I did this yesterday and I did this a couple days ago. And so here's what I've learned. This is the paper itself is just my cheap normal cardstock that I use. It's like the Nina cardstock, bright white from Walmart. Like, it's cheap. It's like $3 for like 50 pages or something like that. Anyway, this is Strathmore marker paper, which I got. It's got like 24 sheets. I think I paid like $10 for it. It's like this little, like this. And actually what I found was that the marker paper not only like actually bled through onto the page I had underneath. I always put paper underneath no matter what I'm doing, but especially if I'm working with something that is a wet material or a wet medium, markers would qualify, even if they're alcohol or water-based. So I always put something underneath. But the marker paper actually bled through onto my page from underneath, whereas my regular cardstock did not. Now my cardstock, as you can see it all, but it didn't actually bleed through. So that's what was interesting to me. It ended up just, I mean, you can see it all, like I said, but it did not actually leave any marks on the paper below, which the marker paper did. I was very interested in that. Anyway, so I was kind of glad because, I always have tons of cardstock around, and I was worried that I would have to, like, get, like, a whole bunch of new paper or something, and it would cost a bunch and all that, but hey, if my cardstock works, then it works. There is specific, like, bleed-proof paper that you can get. I've heard that's, like, really lightweight. I don't have any, so I don't know anything about it yet. Anyway, these are the markers that I got. They are Cali Art markers. They've got a broad tip, like a broad chisel tip, and a brush tip, which I really like because I actually want to attempt some calligraphy. And I do say attempt because that'll be a thing. And I'm going to show you how I learned to blend, or attempt to blend, either one. So you have to kind of stay within the same color family. So I've got these. This is, yeah, they're just numbers. I did a color swatches of all of them and then marked down all the numbers so that I know exactly what I get. So when I mark them out, because these two, they look pretty similar as far as the tops go, but the 825 is actually quite a bit darker, which you'll see. So, kind of like watercolor, you start with your lightest, and then you kind of blend with your lightest as well. So, I'm going to do a piece of turquoise because that's kind of what the markers like lend themselves to. Oh, that's another thing. So if you pull these off and you like flick them a little bit, yeah, I don't know if you can see this, but they'll end up like making little spots. So you gotta be kind of careful if you don't want to get spots on your paper. So just going to do an oval because I like ovals. And then you just or I just fill it in. The thing I like about the markers is the saturation of the color. Like, it's super bright, and I really like colorful things, you know, a little bit. So, there we go. And then I'm going to get my next color, which was 714. Oop, wrong side. I don't use the chisel side much, like, at all, actually. I did for the color swatches, but that's been pretty much about it. And I'm gonna place probably the highlight up here or something, like coming from this direction. So this is like, you're supposed to like drop it down and like flick it or something. So that's what I'm doing. You like start it and then flick it, and then you're supposed to like blend with the flicks or something. I don't know all the like theology to it or anything, but I've done okay so far. So and then I'm gonna go over it with the light blue and kind of try and get it to blend together. And granted, these, in my opinion, do not blend nearly as well as like color pencils, but that's okay, y'all. Because they're not color pencils, so I shouldn't be trying to blend them like color pencils. I don't know. And then it does get a little bit lighter kind of as it dries, which is nice. And then go to our next color, which is the darker one. This one is the B825, which is like actually like a darker green. See, like that color is not the same. It's just not. And then again, we're gonna like do the little flicky thing. That way it's like got less color saturation, I guess, at the top of the flick where you're supposed to blend it. And then I'm gonna go back with the medium color and like go over it. And yes, this is a lot of ink going down again and again and again, but it dries pretty fast because it's alcohol, not water-based. And then I'm going to use the light one again, the light blue, and kind of come in and go all over all of it. See, or at least the majority of some of this. To kind of get it to blend like that. And that's how I've been learning to blend. You kind of just flick at it a whole bunch. To get some of the parts darker, you can actually use darker shades, or you can go over it again with the same color. Like I'm going to use the dark green again and go over just down here. Kind of see if I can give it some shadow. Obviously it looks like it has a whole bunch of shadow now, but again, it's got to dry. So when it dries, it gets a little bit lighter. But yeah, I kind of like that. I don't know if I want to leave it like that or not. So I'm going to get a medium color and kind of see if I can get it to blend a little bit. Because I went up into that light part, I'm gonna flick some more blue over it to see if I can get that to blend out. Ish. You know. And now I want it to dry. And these markers don't smell, or at least not to me. When I was in college, I did a whole bunch of marker work. Not marker work, but just black on white, and I used tons of like Sharpies and like big black markers and stuff like that. And if you've ever worked with lots of Sharpies or anything, you understand like the fumes will go to your head. So these don't smell like at all compared to that. Like my friends and I would tease each other that we were just smelling fumes too much and getting a little bit weird. So I'm going to get a brown. Yes, and I'm looking for the brown that I want. Here's the brown that I want. It's actually quite a bit darker than this says it is, but that's the one I want. And I'm gonna make some veins in my little turquoise here. And the marker tip, like, it's really fine, but at the same time, like, it kind of bleeds a whole bunch, you know, like when you put it down, it doesn't stay exactly in that tiny fine line. You gotta like really, really just barely kiss the paper with it, if you want to stay at all thin, because the marker tip is extremely flexible, and yeah, like you just barely touch it to the paper. Because if you go harder, it's going to give you a much thicker line, which is fine if you want a thicker line. But to do like all the little veins and stuff on the turquoise, I'd not, obviously. Just going to do little patterns. I've been trying to look at more turquoises lately and study the, yeah, see, so I started to go kind of sideways with the tip, and it's going to give me a broader stroke, which I don't really want at this point, so I gotta keep my hand straight up and down, or at least the marker straight up and down. I tend to color from the side as well. I don't know if you've ever noticed yourself doing that, but I do. Like, I'll color sideways like that. I gotta... That's the other thing, is like with calligraphy, I've been told at least that you want to keep your hand like straight up and down, or close to it. So I need to work on that. And excuse me, I have the sniffles. So don't worry, I don't have the Rona. I've been very blessed to not have to go out much or do anything, and been able to stay safe and in quarantine. Just me and my hubby and our cats. I think I want some thicker stuff in here. I've actually isolated my husband in the man cave so that I can record. It's his work office, but I call it the man cave because it was originally a man cave, and then we turned it into his office when he came home for the pandemic, basically. And you're gonna hear my cats because they're ridiculous, and they don't know or understand to be quiet. So I mean, like, this is just veins. It's like they just kind of squiggle everywhere. find some spots in here where it's just like a lot more. That's fun. Hey, guys. My cats have decided that it's time to wrestle or something. Sorry. I'm gonna get a lighter, yellowy color, I guess. I'm still new to this, so I've got to look at my paper and see which my color squatch page is up on the wall, and then I've got to find that marker. So, like I said, I'm still new to this. This one is like a much more yellowy brown. So I'm gonna kind of just, I don't know if that's really what I wanted, but I think I wanted something lighter. I want to kind of blend that. So where's my middle one? The caps are quite tight, by the way, on these things. Kind of blend that in. Or at least try to. Ooh, that's kind of fun. Just kind of put some of the darker in there. The darker green, or the mid-tone green. And get my blue. That gives a cool effect. Kind of like a gradation in the turquoise. Let's do that again. See, I always... That's the thing, is don't be afraid to make mistakes, quote unquote, because you just learn from them, right? So that's what art is. It's experimenting. Yeah, that looks alright. There's the yellow again, or sort of yellowy brown color. I'm using the medium greeny color to... This is a very technical term. Medium greeny color is what I'm using to blend that in. That looks decent. Half decent, you know. And then I forgot to turn off my vibrations. I'm sorry. And then to do the white highlights on these, because the alcohol kind of really smooths out the paper, my gel pens have not worked real well on this. I'm sure that if you worked at it, you really could get them to work on it. But we all know how finicky gel pens are. So I'm using my gouache, or gouache, or however people say it. Anyway, this is the M. Graham and Company, just white gouache. I have another one. I don't know where it went, but this is the one I use most of the time. I just put a little tiny bit, like right there. That's even that is more than I need. And I just use a paintbrush to put it on. I have a little tiny paintbrush that I use for details and such. That's this one. It's a number 0 from Turquoise. And my highlight, I'm gonna go up here. Because turquoise is a stone, so it is opaque. Which means that The highlight goes on the lighter part of the stone, not the shadow. Whereas a gem is opposite, and you have the darker part is where the highlight is on a gem. So. And honestly, like, I like using gouache for highlights. For me, it's just easier to put on and I don't have to deal with the gel pens. But for longevity, I don't even know what I'm saying, and all that, putting gouache on top of anything that's not water-based is not gonna, stay on forever. It's not light fast. It's not going to be archival. It's not going to be, the finest artwork in the world. So, it's not going to last like forever in 3 days. Like I do with most of my work is stuff that I can say is gonna last for a while. So there we have it. Piece of turquoise. I mean, obviously you can frame it out. You can get like one of the grays that I have. And you start making like a setting for it. Kind of like in colored pencils, they have different values of grays. Like this is a gray number 7, cold gray number 7. They have cold grays and warm grays. The set I got, I think it only has like 40 colors or something. So I only got like a couple of cold grays and like one warm gray. It did come with a blender marker, but I haven't found a whole bunch of use for that. I found that I prefer just blending the colors together by themselves. But I don't know, like, if that's something you want to do, go for it. I don't, like I said, I'm not an expert on this at all. I still don't much know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of trying to pick it up as I go. So there's a little piece of turquoise for you, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I helped. If this is something that you're looking at going into and experimenting with, it's been fun. It's a little bit quicker, I think, than color pencil, just depending on what you're using and how you're using it. But I do love the saturation that you get and the really smooth finish of it. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for right now, and I'll catch you on the next video. Later.